stressful.
No stress. I mean, I say that, like, when it's me, I'm like,
because I want things to like just work nicely, but then I guess this is the thing. It's these teething problems that I experience that I know I'll start getting smoother at and like working.
Exactly, like you're literally growing in the process. God, I wish I could tell myself the same thing and like not. You always do this. I can give advice, and then as soon as it's me, I'm like.
It's hard to give yourself advice, isn't it, though? I think it's so much easier to, like, give it to other people.
Because you're not emotionally attached to it.
Yes, you're not emotionally attached to it. But I guess it's quite insightful, actually, just look at all the advice that you're giving other people.
Yeah.
And when you do be like, maybe I should do this. Yeah, note this down.
I know.
Okay, so we're still recording, so that's pretty awesome. Right. So, hello. Welcome to my podcast, C'est la vie. And as we have experienced so far, this is life. It's life. It's very exciting. So this is our third attempt of starting dealing with technical issues, which happen. So yay to evolving. I'm very excited today to be joined with a very, very lovely guest. Very insightful for a young lady. Very insightful, very wise. So hopefully you guys are going to be able to pick up some useful information or learn something from this. If you do like it, please subscribe. So I would like to introduce my third guest on my podcast.
Hello everyone, I'm Hetty. I hope you're all keeping well. And yeah, today I'm just going to talk a little bit about kind of my experiences with like spirituality and wellness and kind of creating that positive mindset, which I think we really struggle to do in this day and age. So hopefully you guys can really take something from this. And thank you again to Amy for having me on here. I feel like a little bottle of knowledge. It's crazy.
So welcome. And so me and Hetty actually know each other from our dance classes. Hey. Big up Riverbourne Holly Dances class.
Love it.
So good. And also we actually crossed paths when she was just a wee little nipper at David Lloyd. So that's quite exciting. She's all grown up now. And also on this incredible journey, by the sounds of things, she's released a podcast of her own, which is very exciting, and also an album on Spotify. So wow.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool, man.
I feel like I'm a jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, you know what? I can relate to that, but actually, I think that's a very entrepreneurial mindset. Actually, it's. I think it's good to be like good at lots of different things, and I think especially at young ages, it's quite difficult to know the one thing that you want to actually solely focus your attention on.
100%. I mean, literally just the last kind of 5-6 months for me, especially job wise, because I think a lot of the time we kind of go, oh, like my worth comes from what job I have or like what my success is. But I have been all over the place the last 5-6 months, and I'm kind of owning it, and I've kind of accepted like that's because none of these things have been meant for me. These are the things that have kind of grown me to where I am today, to be like, well, no, that's not the right job for you, and neither is that. And okay, well, that one got like made me redundant, but now I have a better idea of what direction I want to go down. So
yeah, and that's incredible. And I think you're actually very fearless in a lot of the things that you do, and you really do seem to just like jump on into it. And I think that is really the only way that we're going to figure out trial and error. Like you say, does this work? Does this not work? Yeah. And I think we feel it. You're quite a spiritual person, aren't you, Hetty?
I am. And I think that's kind of helped me in terms of like this fearless aspect, because I've always been so kind of like controlling and of a situation or even like people because of fear. And since I kind of came to grips with spirituality and realized that you can just be at ease and allow things to flow naturally, it's like, well, give it a go. Take yourself out your comfort zone, because that's the only way you're going to grow. So that's like my biggest bit of advice to everyone, is like, that's how you grow.
Yes, and you know what? It's so scary sometimes, isn't it? It is so scary. But certainly I've started to realise as well, like everything worthwhile is on the other side of that.
Yeah.
And we really like hold ourselves back so much from the fear of, I don't know, failure, rejection, being vulnerable, all these different things. And it's quite sad actually, because, you know, people aren't really able to tap into their potential if they're not willing to cross that place and, you know, see what's on the other side.
Definitely. I think, you know, we hold ourselves back, because the mindset that you have is going to really put you in the position that you are in your life a lot of the time. Obviously, that you have external factors come into play, which kind of determines where you are at a certain point in your life. But the way that you view that situation is completely in your control. Completely in your control. You can either view, if something doesn't work out for you, you can dwell on that and be stuck in that negative mindset of, well, I'm a failure, I'm not worthy, I'm not this, that and the other, everything is not good for me, you know, I'm not doing anything well. Or you can go, what can I learn from this? Yes. What can I take forward? And how is this challenge really, you know, helped me improve and figure out what to do next time? So it really is that shift in mindset, actually. Figuring that out.
And I think that it can be quite a difficult thing as well, because I think firstly, not many people are that self-aware to be able to know those things that they're having to shift or change. I think also, in my experience, a lot of people can be very stuck in their conditioning of what they have learned to be their truth. And there isn't really any kind of, well, I would say technically and with tools and everything, there is kind of a logical, clear way out of it. But then actually putting that into practice in the self is something completely different. Like being able to manage the emotions, to be able to like get past those difficult things. Like emotions can be really kind of paralyzing sometimes.
Oh, honestly, that's the thing. And I think we're so prone now as human beings to react to situations based on, you know, what our emotions are. And that's not always a bad thing. You know, your intuition will shine through, and you get angry about a certain thing. That's because your boundaries have been crossed and that's, you know, affected you. But like you sort of say, the conditioning that we have, the environment that we grow up in, that shapes us massively as to what, you know, we innately kind of, how we innately react. And I think that's like a recent block that I've really like tried to work through, because I started recognizing, you know, what am I reacting to? What kind of triggers me, and why does that trigger me? And a lot of the time, not all the time, but a lot of the time it comes down to your childhood. Yeah. And it comes down to the environment and the caregivers that you had and what you've learned from them and how to react and respond to them. And that really plays into like attachment styles, which I did a lot. Like I discussed a little bit on one of my podcasts, is how your attachment style like can really have an impact on your emotional reactions.
Yeah, 100%. Because what I've started to realise as well is like we will sit there and replay those same patterns that we have learnt from our childhood, and we tend to then seek similar situations which are, well, yeah, similar situations to those ones that we've been brought up with. And if we don't start recognising them, then we just stay in that cycle and in that pattern the whole time. 100%. And that is definitely where the self-awareness comes into play, which, like I said, it can be quite difficult. So how have you managed to kind of look inwards, or what made you start to notice these things to be able to get through old patterns to where you are now?
So sort of like I mentioned to you earlier, the biggest shift for me was my breakup. And that was about 8 coming up to 9 months ago now, which is insane. And it was quite stressful, but also one of the most enlightening things for me in terms of the patterns and that I kind of had, and the sort of people that I was attracting into my life. And like you say, I was very much attracting people who would fit the narrative that I would not feel sort of worthy, or I would feel I would have to be in control. And I kept attracting those sort of people. And it wasn't until, you know, this was probably like the 3rd big breakup for me. And I'm not very old, like I'm 22. Like this was the 3rd big breakup for me that really went, why am I in these same patterns of behaviour? And I realised it wasn't about the person, the other person, it was about me and why I was attracting people who just weren't right for me or weren't sustainable in my life. And that breakup really kind of made me think, how do I work past these? Like, what these obstacles, what can I do for myself to kind of heal those childhood wounds and kickstart my journey to getting through that and start attracting someone who does align with me.
Yeah, I think that's the big problem as well. I really think it's the pain and the fear and all these big emotions. That's really what catalysts us forward into being able to develop ourselves. And a lot of the time people will tend to avoid those things. Like, I mean, like, you would potentially stay in a relationship that wasn't healthy and sit there and suffer, but not necessarily know that you were suffering because you don't know any different. And we would sit and avoid all the pain of that breakup. But actually, like you say, that's what's kind of propelled you forward into becoming this new person that you are and being able to look inwards and recognize yourself on a deeper level. That's really lovely. And you was mentioning something about yin and yang previously, which I think is really interesting, because I've started to realise, like, within us all, we do all have a female and a male energy. And that's kind of like a bit about what the yin and yang energy is.
Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know what yin yang energy is, your yin energy is your soft, your flowy, your feminine energy that is receiving. It allows things to kind of come into your life and you accept them as they are. And it's a really sort of gentle, caring and nurturing energy. And your yang energy is much more your proactive, your kind of business side, your go and do, the more masculine energy, this needing to achieve sort of thing. And that, you know, there's two sides to both of them. You need a balance between the both of them. It's finding that balance. I mean, I personally have always been innately sort of in my yang energy, my masculine, needing to achieve to feel worthy. And that was something I grew up with. And that kind of comes down to my attachment style, being sort of anxiously attached. I felt like to prove myself, I had to go and do something. And I think that's part of the thing and reason why with me, I have so many different like endeavors and different hobbies, because it's been like trying to prove myself. And again, like it wasn't until I sort of started reflecting inwardly after my breakup that I don't need to do to be worthy. Like, I can be, and I can, you know, who am I without all of that external stuff? Who am I actually inside? And it's so kind of relaxing to step into your feminine and allow things to come to you. And you think, oh, I don't need to worry because it's all good. It's all working out for me. Like, whatever is thrown at me, it's all working out. Like, there's going to be good things, there's going to be bad things. And it's literally just going with the ebbs and flows of that. And it takes the pressure off you so much, because you put that pressure on yourself.
Yeah, you know what? I have to agree. Like, I feel like I've experienced this a little bit. Like, I'm very much in my male energy, yang energy as well. And like stepping into that female energy, it is actually very freeing. Like, it really is. So freeing. But I do think that it's quite difficult to step into that, into this day and age. Like, because like, well, we have to protect ourselves. We have to provide for ourselves, because if we don't, who else is going to? Nobody else is going to do that for us. So I found it very difficult to step into that energy, but I'm definitely feeling the benefits of it. And I think, like you say, when you balance those out a little bit more, you really will just lead a happier life. Yeah. Like, instead of just, controlling everything, things would just happen. And I think I do believe in kind of a higher power. And I think, you know, I have faith in that. And I think when you have that faith and your intentions are pure, you're going to end up in a good place. You're going to get to where you need to go. Definitely. But I think it's very hard to be in that position when there's so much hate and so much pain and so much bitterness going on around us all the time. Like, even if you just look at social media and the news, it's quite disastrous. But I think stepping into your feminine energy can, well, for me personally, it's kind of helped me be more at peace with all of that.
Definitely. I mean, I don't know about you, but you can call me naive, but I try and actively avoid the news. Like, it's important to know what's going on in the world, 100%, but I'm not someone who can sit and just bombard myself with this negative energy, because it's not good for anyone. It's good to have an understanding, as I say, of what's going on in the world, but what's it going to do for you? What's it going to achieve? And I am kind of in the mindset of, if it's going to affect me, it's going to affect me. And there's, I prepare for it in what ways I can, but I also have to accept that things like the recession and everything going up in price, I can't control that. And you see a lot of people going, oh, this is so frustrating, like this, that, and the other. And it's kind of a constant sort of complaining. And it's completely valid to feel frustrated and anxious and concerned about all of these things, 100%. But finding that ability to be able to accept it and go, this is out of my control, and letting go of it is also really important.
Yeah, and I think as well with that, what I've kind of found, because I've very much been in a bubble where I have been very ignorant to all of these things because I didn't want to feel the pain of it, and it just hurt my heart so friggin' much. But what I've started to realise is, actually, instead of watching the news and seeing what information has been put out there ready for us to take, to actually actively do my own research to figure out, things from my point of view and actually what's going on, because there's a lot of fake news out there anyway. There's a lot of control over the information that we're given and we're fed. So to actually, look into that information, do the research to find out, and like you say, it's not something that's in our control, so there's no point, I say it very flippantly, there's no point getting stressed about it. But what I'm saying is that, we have to be actively doing what we can to kind of bypass it or get through it, instead of sitting here and letting the emotions overwhelm us about the situation, which again is something very easily said than done. But I mean, I think all these different things that we're talking about and the tools that we can use to help get in touch with ourselves, help like mediate our emotions, like meditation, yoga, like 100%. Exercising, getting ourselves in the most peak possible state so that we can navigate through all these difficulties in life, which, are just all around us. And everyone's got their problems. This is something that I've realised recently, like everyone is suffering in their own way. So there's just no point, as personally, I don't feel like there's any point in adding any kind of, pain or negativity or unkindness. Like, it's already there and everyone's suffering. So just being able to put out a bit of, love, I think it will go a very long way.
Absolutely. I think coming on to sort of your point, and everyone's suffering in their own way, one of the biggest sort of phrases that really, I think it does anger me to some extent, is when people say that's such a first world problem. Because the reason behind this is, you do have to put things into perspective, and you do have to put things into like relativity. And understand that there are going to be people better off than you, there are going to be people worse off than you. But like you say, everyone is going to have an issue in their life, regardless of how much money they have in their bank account. They're going to have something in their life which is affecting them in their own way. And it's really hard for someone else to see that, particularly if this person is, better off. You kind of have that judgment of, well, everything's okay for you because you have X, Y, and Z. But you never know the mental state that people are in. And, I'm very lucky. I've been brought up in a very stable home. I've got, I am middle class, absolutely. But that was before I kind of found this feminine energy, really. It was like the constant needing more, or like not having enough, and we're so driven by the ego, like, and desire. And so whatever kind of financial situation or background that you're in, you're still going to be desiring something else or desiring something more. And that's like a reflection of our own wounds and our own problems that we need to figure out on ourselves. Yeah,
definitely the ego. That is a big one, and I really struggle with the ego. I really struggle recognizing the ego, like especially within myself. And I think you're right, and I think the ego comes across to me as like a protective type thing. Like that's why it possibly pipes up a little bit, and or a defense mechanism type thing. And like you're saying, what you were saying about how people, it's all relative to what everyone's experienced, and I do 100% agree with that, because it is, and I don't think any one person's feelings should be deemed any less valid than somebody else's. Obviously I know that there's lots of different criteria within that, but people, you know, we're human and everyone matters. Everyone should matter just as much as each other.
Absolutely.
But I think on top of that, it's important to say that with that, we should all be doing the best that we can to be helping other people as well at the end of the day. And like, I think being able to give what we can in this world really goes a long way, no matter what that is. And I do think that some people can get very caught up in their own pain and their bitterness. I know that I probably have definitely been one of these people.
Yeah, we've all been there.
We have all been there. And I think that's the thing as well. It's a learning and it's a growing thing. And I think coming back to that idea of intentions, if your intentions are pure, if you really are just trying to be a better person and help the people around you, do the best that you can for yourself and your family and loved ones and whatnot, then, you know, you're already kind of winning.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're all kind of here. Well, we are all here for a purpose. Like we're all here for a reason. And when you talk about a spiritual awakening, which that's actually, that's a whole other ballpark, but that's noticing and recognizing, oh, like I'm actually here for a purpose. I'm here, and 100% of the time, your purpose is to go and make a difference in the world and improve other people's lives through your own outlet, through the outlet that you are strong in. Or maybe that's being creative, and, you know, with you, you're creating your podcast. Like for me, it might be music, but, and then other people, it will be, you know, developing technology, something completely different. And it's utilizing your strengths to find your purpose and navigate your way in this world to help other people. So we are all here for a reason. And that's something that I'm just trying to remind people of when people start questioning their worth. Me and myself, it's like, I will stand in the mirror and actively tell myself, like, Hetty, like, you are worthy, like, regardless of all the external stuff. Affirmations, people. Get those in. You need to do them. Because they change your entire life. They shift absolutely everything from change your entire mindset.
Yeah, and you know, you're right. And a question that I often get about affirmations is, what if I don't believe it? Like, but I can't just sit here and say something if I don't believe it. But my answer to that is, you just keep saying it. Yeah. You just keep saying it. And you know what happens? One day, because you've said it so much, one day you say it and you're like, damn, I actually believe that. Yeah. I actually believe that, because
fake it till you make it.
Because it really, like, it's such an abstract concept, that, like, all of this, because, you know, we can very easily sit here and just say what we want. Yeah. But the only thing that stops us is our belief in ourselves and our ability. But it's just so easy to just do that. But, like, having that belief, and the thing with affirmations as well, I find that you need to really feel it in your body.
Absolutely.
You need to really own it and, like, really become that, and then you will start becoming that. One thing that I found with affirmations, as well as affirmations, is gratitude.
Yes, it's the key thing. When I talk about energy a lot.
Yes, energy.
I've got so many series to pass on to you. I kid you not. But energy, people think when I talk about energy work, what are you on this? They think it's like some really crazy eccentric concept. And I'm just like really whacking out there. I'm like, physics, guys, fundamentals, physics. And when you talk about energy, you know, everything is made up of energy. Absolutely everything. Everything you see is made up of a frequency, a vibration, and it's made up of atoms, right? Everything you see is made up of an atom. An atom isn't a solid thing. It's a frequency. It's got a magnetic field. It gives off a vibration. And when I explain it to people like that, they're like, oh, that makes sense. I'm like, exactly. So gratitude is an example of something that when you inhabit that emotion, because emotions have frequencies just as much as the solid objects that you see, radiate, like once you inhabit gratitude into your entire sort of being, you raise your own vibration. So what you give out is what you get back. You attract exactly what it is that you are grateful for.
It's so true. And it's like comes to the idea of law of attraction, which firm believer. But what you're saying as well about the gratitude, I think the reason why it might be so difficult for people to like come to grips with this concept of what you're putting out there, you receive back, is because a lot of people within their foundations don't believe that they are worthy to receive it. I can't remember it, but there is a quote that's said in Coach Carter, random. And the guy says, our greatest fear is not something like, not how, like, oh gosh, I'm going to have to find it because...
Yeah, I'm intrigued now.
It basically says, okay, let's take a pause. We'll take a pause.
We'll take a little break.
Yeah, and then we'll come back to the quote. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, I've just got a sip of water, actually. All this excitement and talking is making me dehydrated.
Dehydrated, all I could throw in my throat, like...
Okay. So this quote from Coach Carter, great film if you haven't watched it, is, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond all measure.
Oh, that hits so hard.
Literally. And I think because I think I've personally been struggling with it a little bit. This idea that you can be great. Like what comes with that is, I don't even know why it's so scary, but I guess it must, maybe it's like a pressure or like well, I guess it fights against the inadequacies that people might feel.
It fights against the ego.
Fights against the
because
ego.
The ego is telling you otherwise. The ego is the thing, guys, this is a big thing here. The ego is the thing that's telling you you're not worthy enough. That's not you. That's not your soul being. So when you hear this chattering away in your head, any sort of, sometimes you don't even notice it, and that's sort of why the power of like meditation and mindfulness is so crucial, because that helps you differentiate between, am I talking away in my head again, or is everything silent? And when everything's silent and you're not talking and there's no judgment or thoughts, that's your soul, that's you, that's your inner peace. When you're hearing chatter, that's your ego, and that's the thing that makes us think we aren't capable of being powerful. The power comes from the peace within, and the power comes from the no judgment, the no thoughts, you know, the complete stillness.
Yeah. Oh, that's quite a crazy concept, actually. I'm a massive overthinker, so my head is constantly chattering. But I do know, and I have known for a very long time, that meditation is the way forward. However, the idea of meditation makes me feel really panicked. The idea of sitting there and being still, like being at one with that peace, it's like, it makes me feel panicked, and I've definitely got a lot better at it. But I think you're right. Trying to find that place of stillness and the mindfulness would help. Like simple little things, like you can be sitting there doing the dishes and just really pay attention to the way the water feels, or the objects feel in your hand. That's going to start cultivating that mindfulness and hopefully help you step away from that place. Gosh, lots of information to unpack there.
What do you think that, for you, what do you think scares you about the mindfulness? Like if you dig really deep,
You know what I think it is? I've grown up with a very dysfunctional upbringing, lots of trauma, lots of, you know, like low energy experiences, but at a very high frequency. I don't know how to explain it. It's very kind of like quick and la 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 la. Yeah, so I think I've built up a conditioned familiarity with that, which almost gives me a comfort. Like, and I think this is probably a lot of reasons why people might find it difficult to step away from those old habits, because I've almost found a comfort in that pain and in that, you know, mess. So stepping away from it, it's kind of a bit like, oh, well, who am I without all of that?
Yeah, it's like stepping outside of your comfort zone.
Yes.
From the things that are actually, when you view them outside of yourself, are really uncomfortable, but to you they're comfortable because that's what you're used to.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think as well, because the idea of then stepping away from all of that stuff into something new, well, it's like you don't know what it's going to be. With all this stuff, you at least you've got that control over it, and you know where you are. If you step out of it to this potential, like, you know, great place, it also puts you in a place of, you know, falling back down again.
Yeah.
And I think that idea makes me want to just stay in that place. But that's why I'm doing things like this podcast. This is really scary for me to be able to actually put online.
But it's amazing. Look at you thriving.
It is. And this is why I wanted to do this, because I wanted people to know that, you know, this stuff is scary. Life is scary. Making yourself vulnerable is hard. But hopefully, if people can see that I can do it, people will start to feel and understand that they can do it too. I mean, you must have experienced it a little bit with your podcast and your songs that you've put out there.
Definitely.
Because it's a real bit of you that you were just
100%.
Putting out there to
like
be ridiculed.
Like, no, literally, with the being vulnerable and being authentic, like, you become so aware of, oh, is this perfect? Like that perfectionism and that kind of imposter syndrome of, oh no, well, I'm not good enough to do this, but somebody else is. And again, that comes to your ego talking. It's so scary to have that feeling of the potential failure that could come with doing the things that like ignite your soul or really light you up. And this is the biggest thing I kind of learned a few weeks ago is 99% of the time you're going to fail. It's only the 1% of time you're going to succeed, but success comes from repetitive failure. You can't succeed unless you've failed over and over again. And that's the beautiful thing about success. And we're so terrified about failing or not being capable of doing what we are here to do, because we've got, you know, other people telling us that we're not capable. We've got ourselves telling us that we're not capable as a consequence of that. And it's all chatter, it's all noise.
Yeah. And it's you know, it's all noise to keep us in a place of vulnerability. No, not invulnerability, to keep us in a place of weakness, is what I say.
Definitely.
Because now this is going quite deep and out there, but I think about how the media controls, how the government controls. Like, everyone is a lot better off to them if we are in this place of weakness.
In a state of fear.
In a state of fear. Which, you know, sucks for humankind.
It does.
It sucks for humankind a little bit. But yeah, as you're saying, you know, when it's scary, jump. That's
the life motto. If it's going to take you outside your comfort zone, do it. Obviously,
that is the time.
If it's dangerous,
yes,
different story. There's a very big difference between something that you know life-threatening to something that's going to get you to grow. You know, go and ask that person out that you've been wanting to ask out for ages, but you're scared of the rejection. I literally did this a few months ago. I met this really cute guy at the train station at Waterloo, and all he was trying to do was just sell me, like, it was like HelloFresh. But he was handing out leaflets, and I thought, okay, I'll go over, you know, get the leaflet, hear a bit more about this. And then we were just talking about the food, and then I was like, okay, thanks very much, have a nice day, and I walked off. And I started walking away, and I was like, Hetty, you think he's cute. What's the worst thing that's going to happen if you just go and ask him for his number or ask him out for a coffee? What's the worst thing that's going to happen? I'm going to get rejected, right? And what? That's the thing. You have to keep telling yourself, and what? Anyway, I turned myself back round. I went up to him and I was like, out of interest, you know, do you want to go out for a coffee next week? And there was a moment of pause, and like, don't get me wrong, like the ego was chattering. I was just so anxious. And he goes, I'm so flattered, but I have a girlfriend.
Aww.
And I was like, it's fine.
Yeah.
And I almost felt a relief at that moment, because I was like, I am so proud of myself that I've gone and done that.
Yeah.
This guy was so nice about it. You know, he didn't need to be, but he's like, you're a beautiful girl, but I have got a girlfriend. It's like, it's fine. And I actually felt so much better having done that.
That's so incredible as well, because that actually makes me think of the fact that it's about the journey and not the outcome. Like, it doesn't matter where you get to, and I think a lot of us put a lot of expectations into the outcome, or have a vision of what it should look like, and then when things don't work out in that image that we've created in our head, we become disappointed, and that ego starts kicking in. But the fact that you've just done that journey has given you that experience, that feeling within yourself to feel like, yes, I've done it. Like, I've stepped out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, and it like changes your whole programming, because I've done that once, I can do it again. And so that's, as soon as you push yourself out of your comfort zone for one thing, then it breaks the habit of doing things another way. And then the more you do it, the more you build up a different programming.
Oh my God, it makes me feel so excited, because it literally,
it's like, same.
Literally, if you think about it then, if this is true, which I believe it is, we can literally create any future that we want. We can literally do anything that we want. And the only thing that's getting in the way of it is us. It's us.
It's us. It's ourselves.
Like, if you think about that as a concept, how much like actual control do we have over it all? We can literally prepare ourselves to anywhere.
Anywhere you want to be. Like, mindset. Give in to the things that come that are negative, and let those happen, because they've happened for a reason.
Yes.
Grow from them, learn from them. And then when the good things come, you're going to be ever more grateful. And just practicing that gratitude, like going back to what we were saying earlier, is crucial.
Really, it really is. Just, you know, I've read it somewhere, or someone told me something, that the one of the two most important things is your attitude and your effort.
Yes. And
I think this definitely is regarding the attitude thing. Like, if you've got the attitude that you can do something, then you will. I think, even if the expectations of the outcome aren't what you thought they would be.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. I feel like we got so excited there.
I
know. Energy, let's go.
So one thing I would like to really ask you about is your music.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think that's so interesting. I've been trying to do a few little bits myself.
Have you?
Yes, we're so similar.
I need to know more about this. That's crazy.
Well, I'm going to hold off for a little bit, because I'm still kind of like working it out through myself a little bit. But just going on Apple Logic, Apple Pro, and creating stuff through there, and lyrics as well. I love lyrics.
They're the most meaningful thing, like what you say and just the way they come across. I think it's like poetry. It's just so beautiful and so meaningful.
So tell me about so you've released an album then?
Yes.
A whole album. How many songs is that?
In fairness, I think it's a weird one, because I've initially released 5, but I still have more to release, which is part of the same album, but they've kind of come later, I won't lie. And it's all about like the journey and the process from this kind of spiritual awakening, and like looking into myself a bit more, and the whole journey. And there's some songs on there which are really kind of positive and upbeat, and really in a time where I was feeling myself. I was like, and then there's times where I was stuck and I felt like I was going back to my ex, or I was stuck in this job that I was just really unhappy in, where you can just tell the energy is much more sort of mellow, and it's the ebbs. So we talk about ebbs and flows. One of the songs I have out on my album is called Ebbs and Flows. And that's the one I think people resonate with the most, because that, you know, the lyrics, I just remember writing the lyrics, and I think the highs don't come without the lows, the ebbs don't come without the flows. And it was just, it's so true. It's literally life. Yeah. Everyone is in that same boat.
And so what was your processing for this? Have you created your lyrics and then you've created a beat, or which way round? Because I always find it quite interesting to know. Yeah,
I mean, everyone's got their own way of kind of like being creative, but for me personally, I do a lot of the work on my computer. I do play guitar, I do play piano, but I just find the whole process a lot more streamlined, just getting synths that are kind of recorded and listening to stuff, putting the music together initially. But I'm kind of back and forth with it. Like, I'll put the music together, like bits of it. Then I'll write some lyrics for a verse, play around with that. Then I might write the tune for the chorus. Then I'll write the lyrics for the chorus.
Just kind of whatever flows.
Yeah, just whatever flows and like works. And I found that that's the thing that really works for me.
Yeah. It's a really personal experience, songwriting, isn't it? I really feel like you have to carve a section out of your soul. Literally. To have something real, like an authentic. Yeah.
And I think especially when I'm recording as well, I'm quite aware of being in the emotional state that I wrote the song in. So it sounds really unusual and quite strange to some people, but I won't sing or record anything on the days that don't reflect the mood of the song.
I know, I think that makes a lot of sense actually, because
it's not real.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you need to feel that emotion from like the depths of you, and it needs to be resonating throughout your whole entity.
Yeah, and like going back to energy, that will come out through the song. Like, if I want people to be able to connect with me through my music, I need to be in the emotional state that the person listening to the music is also going to be in. Yeah. So yeah, it does show through.
Oh, that's so exciting. Oh wow, brilliant. Okay, I think
we've got through a lot.
Yeah, I think we have got through a lot. I'm trying to keep these down to around half hour, because I'm just starting out, and you know, it can be quite hard to sit there and watch something for too long. Attention spans dwindling and whatnot.
I need to ask, actually, I have a question about this. Is this a tattoo you have?
Yes, it is a tattoo. Oh, you got one. Oh my God, that's so adorable and dinky. I know. Yeah, so my one is actually, this is about perspective in life.
Wow.
So, because I can look at this and I can either see the happy face or the sad face.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but it's my choice how I see it. And I think that's an idea that I try to take into my life, because at the end of the day, we're all going to be knocked down with something.
Yeah.
And it's your attitude towards that thing which matters. It doesn't matter how much we get knocked down. It matters how many times we get back up.
Exactly.
And that is the important thing. And we are all capable and all deserving, 100% deserving of getting back up. So, yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's so meaningful. I just saw it and I was thinking, I think this is going to have a similar backstory to mine.
What's your one then?
So mine's a little smiley face, a very small smiley face. And I think for me, it's firstly comes down to my perspective. I used to be so pessimistic. This one is more of my reminder of I can be optimistic. I can be that positive person, and I can have those positive perspectives on things if I choose to. And I almost feel like it's my soul shining through. I think
that's lovely.
Everyone sort of says to me, you have such a positive energy. And I was like, thanks guys. I've got it right here. And that's honestly like one of the biggest compliments, I think, because that's what I've actively worked towards. You know, I'm going to have times where I'm feeling low. And when I have those days and I wake up and I see my little smiley face, I'm like, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's going to be okay.
That's a good one. Having little tools and trinkets to like focus your energy and remind yourself. That's a really good one. I think we should wrap it up there, because that's a really, really lovely positive note to end things on. Thank you so much.
It's been
absolutely lovely. And I'm sure I'm probably going to have you again, because we've just got so much in common.
I know.
So on the same wavelength about everything. So hopefully you guys will be able to get some information from this. If there's anything that you would like to know more, please write a comment or anything. I'm going to put in links and everything where I can about little bits that we've discussed here, Hetty's podcast and Music Link, etc. So thank you so much for joining me, and please subscribe.
I do actually have a couple of things, like a couple of podcasts as well. Psychology of Your 20s, really good one. The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. If you've not read it, read it. It will change your life. I've read it twice now, and in both different situations in my life. Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle. And recent series on Amazon is The Sound of Creation, which really talks about how like energy work and how how sound, which is vibrational frequency, creates everything that you see. So everything you hear. So
we will link all of these below.
Bro.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye. Love it.
Brilliant.